Welcome to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
Episode 26, Interview with Tommy Davis, Part 1.
So anyway, fast forward, right? And I thought it was fascinating because here's me as a dog professional for like 5 years, and then here's this English lady who, you know, is by herself. She's not married. She just is doing her thing, right? And she's killing it. And so I then thought it was fascinating. So, hey, I really want to learn more about this e-collar thing. This is awesome. Like, this is so cool. I'm like, my clients would benefit from this like crazy. And the prong collar, I knew my clients had it, but like now I know about it. Now I know how it works. And so Janine trained. She was a head trainer at the Monks and Newskeet for many years.
That's dope.
Yeah. So with Brother Christopher, and the way that they introduced the e-collar, on the contrary of, and I get crap for it all the time because it's just different, is they introduce it very, very subtly. They use low level stimulation as an introduction, communication. They never put it on a corrected dog ever, unless, certain circumstances. But, and so anyway, so that's how I shadowed and just watched. I just was her shadow. I mean, I just watched everything that she did. Consultations, training, off-leash stuff. She taught me how to train my own dog. And then, the dog-tra relationship was founded this year, between our partnership. But it started it's very organic. Yeah, man. So that's really, to answer your question. And I don't like to say, oh, well, because that story is organic and it's real and it's authentic. And I like to tell that story, even though it's long-winded, but I want you guys to understand that it wasn't just like, I really like dogs. I'd really like to train them because I think they're cute. Right. I was forced and pushed into these things. And I think, I believe everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
And the world and the way that it worked, it just lined me up that way. So that's where I started.
I think it's awesome because I happen to believe a lot of that same sort of thing, so, and I don't stem too far into that because this is like a dog training podcast, but
let's talk about the meaning of life, people.
No, well,
I'm down. I'll crack a beer now. I'm down.
But I just
episode 27, beers with Tommy.
But again, I try really hard, like, as we listen to, to our guests and everything to the story has so much value in and of itself. And I just try to think like, how can we kind of give the little snippet to the listener as to like what we took from it? Because a lot of times that's a thing. I'm a big podcast listener myself, so like all other kinds of podcasts, dog training or not. And even hearing what someone else took from the story can be valuable, like the story itself, And so what I love about it is, you were kind of pushed into this whole thing, and it was all just kind of meant to be. But at the same time, you kept pulling at the same time. Because I've met so many people in so many walks of life where it's like everything lined up for you too. You just didn't do it. And, and it's a shame. And the thing is, it could be for a lot of the reasons that you said that we've all experienced. Like, I didn't feel like I was good enough. I was embarrassed. I was whatever. And we all feel that way. Everybody feels that way. Michael Ellis, Tyler Muto, Tommy Davis, everybody's been there. The key is drive through it and just go. It's all right to suck. Everybody sucks. But, like I've had that so many times just myself as a boxer, as a whatever, like you lose sometimes. It's all good. It's just a matter of, are you willing to keep pushing?
I love the L's. Love them. Like when you do something and you lose, it's a huge, you have two options. You take it, you learn from it, or you say, okay, now I suck.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So to move on a little bit, speaking of L's, because this kind of thing is really hard for a ton of people even today. I want to talk a little bit about your start with YouTube. Okay, because I haven't seen some of the, or maybe I have, I don't know. It's hard when you're watching YouTube videos because it'll recommend you stuff from like 2 months ago to like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So how was the start? Was it clunky? Were you unsure about how to shoot things? Was it different than it is today?
Dude, so bad. Here's like my YouTube. Okay, yes, absolutely, dude. Like yes, 100%. It was bad. It was really bad. I had no help. I didn't know. See, and that's the thing is, like, I didn't know anybody on YouTube. I didn't know any dog trainers filming anything. I didn't know anything, like nothing. The only thing that, and I told Michael this when I had him on my podcast a couple weeks ago, is Janine, the girl I was talking about. I said, Janine, this is great, but I need more. I need more content. I need more. I'm sitting at night like I was like a bookworm. And she's like, look up Michael Ellis. And I said, okay. And from there, I remember there's one video he did with Learberg. No, yeah, well, yeah, that story's interesting, but not that one. But he was working with this client, and it just kind of changed things for me because there was this dog jumping on his client like this, and she looked at Michael and she said, "Should I correct him?" He goes, "Hell yeah, correct him! He's jumping in your face."
The older lady, I remember that video.
Yeah, and I was like, that's a dog trainer. That's that's what I do. And so YouTube for me, I started watching content, but I guess I'm connecting those two because I didn't know anything other than Learberg. Like as I got into, like, as Janine said, watch Michael Ellis, and then I got into Learberg, and then of course I met my really close friend, Forrest Mickey, and through Learberg, and I've gone out to Learberg and hang out with the Learberg gang and Ed and Cindy and everything. Awesome. But it's for me, it was like I that didn't inspire me to do YouTube at all. I was able to see other trainers for the first time in my whole life because nobody around me would let me shadow. And the only person that, I could shadow was Janine, and she was like all over the place from Vermont to New York, and it wasn't efficient, so I wanted more. And so that wasn't really the inspiration behind YouTube, but YouTube for me was when I got my first facility. I don't know, 5 years ago, 5.5, 6 years ago-ish. When I got my first facility, it was like a piece of crap warehouse on a top floor.
That's Upstate, right? Upstate?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, yeah, that was Upstate Canine, like OG. Like first. Yeah, like the first, not the one that we're in now.
1.0.
Yes, the first Upstate Canine. And yeah, so when I started, that is when I started filming stuff, because I said, I was like, I think people would benefit from watching some of the stuff that I'm doing. Here's the thing: is when I had people crying, like in my sessions, like human, like dog owners were like crying. They're like, "This is so amazing," blah blah blah. I was like, okay, well, I wanted to help other people do this. How and it's always been for me. Always, how do I help as many dog owners? Right. Always, that's like my mission statement. Right. How do I expand? If I can help one person, like if I can film something and help one person change their relationship with their dog, save a dog's life, whatever, I will do it. If there's 100 people telling me I'm the worst thing that's ever happened since sliced bread, but there's one person that says you've changed my life with my dog, I'm going to do it every time. I don't care what those haters say. I'm going to do it. So for me, that's where it happened. Is I set up a tripod and a really crappy kit lens from a Nikon in the corner with no audio, and I just started recording. I just started pushing stuff out, and that's how I started.
Yeah, because today it's something completely different. You've got like some production quality that's like intimidating, frankly. And I'm like, well, shit, it looks really good. Like, how do you really, how do you match that? How do but again, it is humbling and it is grounding to see, like, everybody starts somewhere, and that's why I ask. And I was also going to ask about building the kennel, but you kind of got into that a little bit. So the first one was about 5 years ago, and that's good to know too. What and what we want to get into a little bit as well is,
sure,
like we talked about, in our initial kind of meet, and again, this was kind of that moment that I had where I was like, oh shit, Tommy Davis is like legit, like this is dope. Like I've always liked you, but like, oh, I like you, like this is super cool. Was
thank you.
You were talking a lot about, and I found this very real. Okay. And I apologize if this isn't something you want to talk about, but you were talking about, like, when you put so much stuff online and you're such a big person like I am on YouTube with dog training, you catch a lot of hate from quote unquote, YouTube experts, because God knows there's a million of them, and like everybody has their little opinion of what you should do about this and that. But you were like, I just kind of lately, because of that, I just kind of keep my circle small, put my head down, and just put out this work. And I was like, I can appreciate that, because you kind of stay in the lane of what you do. You make no apology, nor should you, about like, look, man, training, I can do it, but behavior's my thing. That's what I like. That's what I do. And I can appreciate that. You're self-aware enough to like specialize in that kind of thing. So I just wanted to ask you about, like, now that you've become this huge online presence for dog training, what tips would you have for maybe up and coming trainers who are trying to put out content? Because obviously, more than anybody, maybe, how beneficial and almost how vital it is in today's day and age.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I would just tell anybody to be authentic.
Okay.
Like, don't try to, like, I get all the time, people are like, hey man, what do you use? What equipment do you use? What do you use this? And that's fine. Yeah. That's totally cool. Yeah. But like, I don't want people to like try to mimic anything. So I think like the reason YouTube is the hardest thing to grow on social media. Doesn't matter if you're half naked, beautiful girl, nobody's going to care. Like you know what I mean? Like it's really, really, really
to grow
hard.
A real following.
It's hard. It's one of they say it's the hardest place to grow authentic fans and a following. Right, yeah. Yes, it's so hard. They say, I think it's like 1% of people get past like 1,000 subscribers or something like that. Right. It's very hard. So because the audience knows, because they're cycling through content all day, they know if you're not authentic. And so for me, there's some channels out there, not just in dog training, that just said, I want to get successful on YouTube, and you can tell they from the get-go, everything that nothing was built up off of experience. Right. They've just, when we started, this is everything, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can just, it's like, I think for me, it's I think a lot of the people who had been following me are continuing to watch the growth of what I'm doing. And I think that resonates with so many people that I'm just like you guys. I'm just like you. I'm no better than anybody out there listening to this. I may have more experience than some people, or I have different whatever, but like I'm obsessed. Like I don't stop. Like I do not stop. It's ruined many relationships. I've lost all of my friends that were my family. You have to sacrifice everything to get what you want. For me, my advice is to people is to do you. Don't try to say, well, I want it to look like this. It's fine to be inspired. Right. No idea is a new idea. Anything that I've done has been like, I want this type of look or whatever. And I've spent a lot of time honing that in by myself. I've spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on people filming for me, editing for me. And it's not exactly what I want. So I do everything in-house now by myself. Wow. So for me, it's about be authentic. Don't, and also be real. There's not a lot of, and this is my opinion, of course, I've not met a lot of people who are willing to sacrifice almost everything to make it work. Right. They want a cheap way.
They want the fast way.
They want a quick way. It's not cheap and it's not quick. You're going to have to cry. You're going to have to live off nothing. You're going to get made fun of. Exposing yourself on the internet is one of the hardest things to do for anybody on the planet, because there's going to be people that are going to come out of the woodwork that are going to make fun of every single thing about you. It doesn't matter if you come out with a video curing cancer. Right. Yep. You're going to get 171 dislikes, and you're going to get people that are bashing the way that your hat is sitting, the shirt that you're wearing, and because you're talking too fast. Right. And so I think that there's so many different layers of success of being a content creator as a YouTuber. First of all, you have to be consistent. Second of all, it has to be good content. Third of all, it has to be quality content. And fourth of all, you have to have tough skin, because everything that you do and everything that you're trying to be, everything that I do, as you guys may or may not be able to tell, is from my heart. Everything that I spill out of me is just, it's everything that I have. I'm authentic. I'm not different off camera than I am on camera. I'm authentic. And so you just have to realize that, like, when you put something out that means the world to you, and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever put out, there's going to be probably 2,000 people that are going to rip you apart. Right. They're going to rip your girlfriend apart. They're going to rip your brother apart, your sister, your family, everything. They're going to rip you down. And a lot of people can't handle that. Right. I've had, and I like I said, in the beginnings, I keep my circle. I've been burned in the dog training industry too many times. I'm so, I'm protected. I have people in my life that protect me from certain emails, from certain phone calls, from certain, hey, I have an idea. I've done that to myself because I owe it to myself to not get burned because I care so much.
Right.
If somebody reaches out to me for help, I want to work on this project, and I want to come in, I want to fly in and see you and all this stuff. And I used to just be a yes. I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you. I'm a yes man. But now I've put into place in my own business and my own life to protect me from that because I'm vulnerable sometimes.
Right.
But that,
so anyway, so that's...
I'm so sorry. That's self-awareness, though. If you know that you have an issue, you put someone else in place that deals with that issue. I can appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I thought that was weakness.
No. Yeah, no.
For the longest time, I was like, dude, I'm a businessman. I work hard. I'm here. I'm doing my thing. And I realized that I've also, like, my mental health is important. If I don't get enough sleep, or if I don't eat properly, like I have all of that in place to make sure that my system and my machine is running as smoothly as it possibly can. And you know what? The only reason why I've invested money into like somebody delivering me meals so I can eat properly, because I usually eat like this, like I'm talking or whatever, like I'm always on the go. And for me, the only reason why I'm doing all this is to help dogs. Because I know if I'm on my game, I'm going to help a dog out there. If it's one or two. And so for me, like, I think to go back to the original question of like how to start, you have to be real. No, people are going to read right through you at some point. There's people who get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 subscribers, and they stay there for about 4 years because it's and I don't really know the answer to that question of why they stay there, but I think it has to come from